What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. This is episode 6 and 7. So I'm doing them together. So let's get into it. Put these episodes together because they were talking about the same thing, and I hate when I repeat myself. I really do. So I was like, you might as well put them together. So the episode opens up and we see all the girls at Jesse's hair salon. They're all getting shampoos, curls, and all of that stuff. And while they're there, they're all surprised that Whitney actually showed up to Layla's event. And so Demi is like, she was upset. Like, everyone could tell she was upset after speaking to Jess. And Demi's like, I don't know what's the issue with saying that, you were hurt by something or you were being a bitch. Why not just apologize for it so we can move on? And so it seems like everyone is just getting tired of coddling Whitney's feelings. So they're not really like going to run after her or check up on her, even though that is what Whitney wants, because she wants people to validate that she is useful to this group, that she deserves to be in this group, but they are all kind of put off by her and don't really care anymore. So they end up finding out that Whitney unfollowed everybody except Macy. And Macy is actually surprised because she's like, oh my gosh, like, she's acting kind of erratic. And she was like, I've never really seen Whitney behave this way. Like, she's always been emotional, but she's never been this impulsive. And she was like, I really do think it's important for her to be a part of mom talk and be a part of this group. And it just sucks because she's missing out on a lot of things. So Jesse is like, it's okay because she's not invited to my other party anyway. So they have like a sip and paint party where they got, cocktails and mocktails, and they all end up drawing vaginas. We find out that Jessie is getting a labiaplasty. Or is it? Yeah, I think that's where they like cut your labias. She's had 2 children, and she was like, after having her 2 kids, her labia never came back. So she wants to get it done because she's been very like self-conscious about it. And what's interesting to me is, like, I remember reading something where they said because women get epidurals when they're when they're giving birth, when you push, because you can't feel that part of your body, you don't know how to like regulate your muscles to know if you're straining too hard, and oftentimes it forces women to push too hard, and then that's when you have like a prolapse or something like that, or what Jessie has with hers, like, you push too hard, things kind of fall out. But I don't blame anybody for getting an epidural. I've never had a child, but I've seen videos and they are terrifying. And I was like, if I ever have a kid, drug me up. Okay, I don't want to feel nothing. So they all have fun at the party. We then get this scene of, I guess, Taylor down with Taylor and her mom. Taylor goes over to her mom's place. They end up sitting down to have like lunch. And the mom is like, where's Dakota? Because I guess Dakota was supposed to come with Taylor, but he chose not to. And so Taylor ends up telling her mom that like they got into a fight. And then they end up moving from the kitchen table to the sofa. And she was like, they were texting back and forth. She was like, I'm going to try to call him. And the mom was like, call him because I want to talk to him. And she's like, he's not going to pick up, even though she was texting him. And then she called, he didn't pick up. And then he ends up saying, I don't want to talk to you right now. So then the mom tells Taylor to tell him that you might be going into labor. I said, oh, you're that type of messy, because don't play with me like that. So then Dakota ends up calling back kind of frantic, like, is she really going into labor? Like, is Taylor okay? And the mom is just like, well, I want to talk to you. And then he was like, you know the story of the boy who cries wolf, And see, that would have pissed me off. I don't play with me like that. Like I would have got on that phone raising hell. And so the mom is just like, well, why didn't you come over? And Dakota's like, because Taylor didn't want me to come over. Like, it's your daughter's fault that I'm not there. And what it sounds like to me is Dakota feels rejected at the fact that Taylor is not ready to marry him. He wants to be a family man with her 2 kids and with this new baby, but he is afraid that like she's not all in. But Taylor has trust issues because when they got together at the beginning of their relationship, she told him, just be honest with me. like because she was lying to people, so she believes people lie really badly, as well as she was being lied to being a part of that swingers community. And she was just like, if you're honest to me, like we can go from there. But Dakota wasn't honest. And then when she posted that picture of them together, all this information came out about him sleeping with this other girl before her, and then them having sex all throughout the week, and then this other girl popped up. So she's just like, she don't really trust him like that. And he's just frustrated, and she's frustrated because she's tired of having the same arguments over and over and over, which is understandable because I would be tired of it too. So we get away from Taylor and her mom and the Dakota of it all, and we see a few of the girls pull up on Jess after she's gotten plastic surgery. Like she got like a boob reduction, or maybe got smaller implants, and the mommy makeover downstairs went really well. What's crazy to me is how Mormons have this like obsession with perfection. Because from time to time, I have watched Salt Lake City, like Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And I remember Heather Gay talking about like it's common for Mormon women and men, but more so women, to like constantly get plastic surgery over and over and over and over. And I was watching a TikTok where this guy was giving his feelings about the girls. And he said that Kayla had like, I think he said like 31, not Kayla, Layla had like several procedures in the span of like 6 months. And I'm like, you're 22. Like, what are we? And that's like I said last time, that's why you be looking old in the face when you're like 30, because Kylie Jenner was getting all that stuff in her face, and now she look like a 47-year-old woman, and it's like she's only 27. Like, she shouldn't look that old. But I guess because they have this purity culture, it's weird. It's weird. But we know Jessie says she done got work done before, so she's doing well. We find out that she's inviting all of the girls except Whitney to Las Vegas. Or maybe they did invite her. Well, no, Whitney ain't in the group chat. So all the girls are going to Las Vegas, but Whitney's not coming. While the girls were in Las Vegas, we see Whitney and her husband, Connor. Side note, Connor has had so many like changes. He had blonde hair when we first met him with the beard. Then the beard was shaved off, and so was the hair. Now he got he had a fade when they was at Layla's party and a little like mustache. Now he back with the big mustache and the hair swooped to the side. He going through changes. So they go to this farm. They kept calling it a homestead, but I was like, it's a farm. It's a farm. And it's interesting to me when people think that like having a farm, it's such like the simple life, when it's not. And as someone who got their degree in agriculture, like, or in the Department of Agriculture, like having and owning a farm is hard work. Like, I don't knock anybody that has a farm, because people wake up at like the crack of dawn, like at 4 and like 3 o'clock, to start feeding and herding animals, moving them from different fields, making sure that their animals are okay. So it's just like, I wouldn't want that. Farms are cute, like, to visit, but not to work on one or own one. I would, like, the only thing I've ever wanted is because I grew up, in the DMV, but mostly in Virginia. In my part of Virginia, we were close to the mountains. I was more out northern, but like people had lawn art. And what was lawn art was just horses. Like, they didn't really ride the horses. They were just older horses, but they had so much land that you would just see horses just roaming in the front of people's houses, which I thought was cool. And I was like, if I ever got money like that, I was going to get me, because I love draft horses. Those are like the big Clydesdale horses you see for Budweiser's. I just want like 3 of them, maybe 4, because I like even numbers, and they just be big and beautiful. And I want like a black one, a white one that's like has polka dots on its butt, but like it's white, but it has like the speckles and stuff. And then I want 2 that look like Clydesdales, and I'd be happy. I don't know if I'm gonna ride them, because I don't like horseback riding hurts, but like I think that's how I know I made it. You know what I'm saying? So they want a farm or something. Whitney doesn't really feel welcomed by the group, so she's not really that pressed to go to Las Vegas. She was like, it's not going to be that much fun because I'm not there. I said, girl, they had a lot of fun without you. And I think that's the worst part I think Whitney is feeling right now, because on top of like Twitter just hammering it and like going off on her, I think it's also watching the show and realizing that they really did have fun without you. And even though I think Whitney is the villain of the show, I don't think she's as bad as people are making her seem. She's just delusional. She's delusional. She's self absorbed. She's entitled. She's an asshole. But like the rest of the women on this show have those tendencies too. Some of them are just easier to cover them, in my opinion. But I think that's more hard to swallow. And then I found out she was pregnant. And I was like, oh, be emotional, be pregnant, and then on top of that, know that like the internet hates you right now, and then the women that you thought you were in the right by, like, you know, they did you dirty, all felt like you were wrong and are happy without you being a part of the group. Girl, I hope mentally she's okay. Like, that's why I don't take these shows that seriously, because I'm like, I don't personally know these people, but I do hope that like if I was her, I would get off the internet for at least about like 2 weeks, just so I can like breathe, because every time she posts something, people in them comments going off. They hating hard. Okay. So we get back to everyone preparing to go to Las Vegas. And so we see Britt and Demi having a conversation. He's cool with her going to Vegas. He was like, I'm not really worried about you. I'm worried about the other men there. And I'm like, whatever, you're 50. Calm down, sir. Let that girl have some fun. Then we see Macy and her husband talking, and he's kind of like, Dakota's coming. He's like, why? And she's like, I don't know why, but you know, but she no, she says she knows why, but she's not happy about it because Taylor is like 31 weeks pregnant. They're like, she's at the point where she might have the baby at any moment. He wants to be around just in case, but we know Macy does not see it for Dakota, so she's just like, I just hate that he coming. And we also find out that Zach is coming, which is Jen's husband. We also find out he got a gambling problem. So I don't know why he coming to Las Vegas, other than he's a controlling asshole, because she is talking to him. He's like excited to show her his hoodies about how like to hide if you got a good card or not by like the veins in your neck. And she's like, you know, I only gave you like $2,500. Like, don't lose all that money. And then she also asked like, how would you feel if I would go to like Chippendale? He was like, why do you need to go there? And she was like, it's just a hypothetical. Like, how would you feel if like we went? And he was like, for what? Like, if that's what you want to do, but why would you want to do it? So you could already tell that he's insecure and got problems. So we end up finding out that the rest of the girls, I think, flew to Vegas. And then because Taylor is so pregnant, they have to drive. So we end up seeing Taylor come over to Jen's house, and Jen is like, okay, hey girl, you okay? But she could tell that something's wrong with Taylor. So she's like, what's up? She was like, her and Dakota had like a really big fight. I guess Taylor like either drove herself over to Jen's house by herself or she Ubered there. But she was like, I threw all his stuff out of the car. He was real angry with me about like our relationship. And I was just like, I'm pregnant. I don't want to deal with this. And you hear Zach like ear hustling like Marlo, like, and then next thing you know, we see Dakota pull up. I didn't think he was coming. So they end up letting him in. They sit down and have a conversation where Dakota is just basically like, I want to be in this with you. I want to be with you. I want us to work. We just really need to work on our trust issues. So they kind of mull over the situation. They end up like hugging outside. And then when they get in the car, they talk about like the ups and downs of their relationship, how like we'll be good one minute and then be bad the next minute. And Taylor is just like, it's overwhelming because she's pregnant. But honestly, they're both addicted to how toxic their relationship is. And that's what normally happens in toxic relationships. You get addicted to like the really high highs, because sometimes when it's good, it's amazing, but then when it's bad, it's really bad. So you're just constantly going up and down, and that gets exhausting, and it starts to make you feel miserable. The rest of the girls get to the Airbnb, and what I will say is, for them to have the two like cash trips, which is going to Vegas and going to that hotel in Utah or the ski resort or whatever, they've picked really nice places, because the Airbnb was nice. There was like a cute little mini golf area. They had a nice little pickleball court, and then they had the pool, and then the penthouse that they had last episode, well, not last episode, but episode 4 was beautiful as well. So y'all got good taste. So the girls are kind of irritated that Dakota and Zach are coming, because they really feel like, why do they need to be there? They end up putting like late on labias only on the door because they're just like, why do y'all need to be here? Like, this is a girls' trip. Why do y'all feel like you need to follow your girls around like a puppy? So they get there, and Macy is already clocking like how controlling Zach is to Jen, where he ends up being like, oh, she could do whatever she wants. And then he's like, haha, joking. And Macy, it says in her confessional that I always knew Zach was controlling, but like seeing it firsthand is just a lot to see. So the men end up leaving, and then you have Taylor and Jen pretty much telling them like they got into it. Like Zach doesn't really want her doing too much. And Taylor was like, what's his name? Dakota is just feeling some type of way because he's feeling rejected and stuff like that. And Jen tries to dress up like what the men are doing as, oh, they're caring about them being protective, but ultimately they're just being assholes, controlling assholes. So we end up having this moment where the girls start to prepare to go out. They end up going to Chippendales. It was supposed to be a surprise, but I kind of was irritated with Jesse because I'm like, if you know that Taylor and Taylor and Jen come from relationships that are controlling and it was going to get them in trouble, why would you pick this location? Or why would you not tell them so they had the ability to be like, hey, I'm gonna just stay at the house. I'll meet y'all somewhere else. Like, I feel like that wasn't right of her to put them in that situation. And I know it's like, well, why are you coddling these men? And I'm not, but I'm just like, if I knew my friend was gonna get in trouble or have issues in her relationship if we went to the strip club because her man didn't want her to be there, then I probably would be like, oh, we could go somewhere else. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it was wrong for them to go. Like, I think they're all grown adults and they should be allowed to go. But if you know they're in relationships that are toxic, don't make it worse. That's what I'm trying to say. So before they end up going to Chippendales, we see Macy try to have this conversation with Michaela. So Macy does this thing called Sinner Sundays where people post like confessions or sinner confessions, whatever, randomly to her. So she posts them on her on her IG stories. And so she got a confession where a girl basically said that, I'm summarizing, that she slept with Dakota before she knew that Dakota was messing around with Taylor, and she wants to tell Taylor, but she's terrified. What should she do? And so Macy is like, what should I say? And then we end up seeing Demi come into the room with Michaela and Macy being like, you should tell her, because we talked about it the last girls trip where Taylor basically said she found out that he was sleeping with Jen, or no, not Jen, what's that, Janae or whatever. Janae. That girl name is not Janae. I think it's Jenna. Then she was going to be done with him. Now, we don't know if the anonymous person is Jenna or it could be somebody else, but Macy is like, I need to tell her because I know she would want to know. I also think she don't need to be with Dakota, so I'm even more amped to tell her. So we see the girls pile into the Sprinter bus. They all are like, where are we going? Jesse won't tell them, and that's when they find out they're going to Chippendales, and they got the VIP access where they go behind the scenes and they're there to like oil up the men, and all of this is for Layla. So I'm like, let that girl live her life. But Jen, Taylor, and Michaela are just like, my man not gonna be happy about this. And so Jen is just like, I don't feel like we're representing the Mormon faith correctly by doing things like this. And so they get there, I guess, before the other patrons of the bar come, and they're sitting down eating, and they're all like messaging their husbands and boyfriends like, what's going on? Dakota is like, this is stupid. Like, you really out there? Like, you for real? And so he's irritated. Michaela was on the phone with her husband, which he need to be on somebody's list. And he was like she was like, yeah, he's not too happy about this. Jesse and Demi are just like, it's overkill. But also I'm like, y'all are the oldest. That's the part where I'm looking at Jesse and Demi like, y'all are judging, and I understand where you're coming from because you've been there, because they both have been divorced. They both got married young, so they understand, and it's probably irritating the hell out of them to see where they used to be. But I'm like, speak more tactfully to your friends. Just telling them that their men are stupid or insecure and they ruin everything is not going to make them like stay with you. They're not. So, next thing you know, Jen is like, I'm gonna leave. So then she gets up and she like gets a call from Zach, and he is berating her, calling her probably everything but a child of God, but we can't hear what he's saying. And she was like, why are you questioning my character? Like, you know who I am. Why? Like, I didn't even know we were coming. So then Taylor gets up to go check up on her, and she's like, are you okay? And then Jen is like, he's threatening to divorce me. And Taylor's like, girl, what? Are you serious? And then that's where the episode for episode 6 turns off. 7 opens up and the girls are still at the Chippendales. And pretty much Jen is still out in like the corridor crying after Zach has just pretty much like cussed her out, calling her anything but a child of God and threatening to divorce her and saying how much of a bad mom she was and everything. So Jen ends up being like, I want to leave. So we see Jen, Taylor, and Michaela get back on the Sprinter and go back home. The other girls, Jesse and Demi, are irritated because they were like, we weren't doing anything wrong. Like, we should just have a good time. But like I said, y'all have been divorced. Demi is 31 years old and no, Jesse is 31 years old and Demi, I think at this time, I think was about 29 or 30. And they both have have been divorced. So it's like, you got married young, you got a divorce. So they are going through the same thing you're going through. So give them a little bit of grace. Like, I get it. I would be irritated too because they weren't doing anything wrong. But y'all also know y'all are part of a faith that is very patriarchal. And y'all know how those men get. Because Jesse kept saying that Zach is the stereotypical type of a Mormon man who is very controlling, you follow what I say, you obey me. So if you know that and you know you came from a marriage where that was the case, then ease the girl into like her lashings. Because the way that y'all was eating her up at the end of the episode to the point where she was in tears, I was like, I agree with all of what y'all are saying. Every single thing. But like, you could tell that mentally at the end of the episode, Jen was like exhausted. Like, she had like that 30-yard stare and y'all are just telling her, your man ain't shit. He ain't this. He ain't this. She just let her breathe. Let her breathe for a minute, okay? So they stay. They have a good time. They bring Layla on the stage. She get bent over. They're having so much fun. All the time when they get back to the house, Jen been going through it. Taylor basically says she not talking to Dakota because she ain't got time for it. We actually see Dakota call Brent, which I think was great that he was able to call another man that's married that was able to talk some sense into him, because Brent was like, it's not that deep. He was like, I understand where you're coming from and your feelings, but like, she's not doing anything wrong, so what you mad for? And then after Dakota got that from Brent, he kind of felt stupid. He was like, thanks for talking to me. I needed to hear that. And he was like, I just need to talk things out. Yeah, you need to have sensible friends who will tell you when you're being stupid. Clearly, you don't have any. Okay, so we end up seeing them come home. You could tell that Jen has been through it. She been through it. And mind you, someone took a screenshot of the text message that Zach sent Jen, and I read a piece of it. Oh, he was nasty in them text messages. He used the R word, the one that has the tard. Tard at the end. He was like, this is so effing, like, he was going off on her. He ended up saying that, you need to be a grown up and just take accountability for putting yourself in that situation. And it's like, she didn't put herself in that situation. Jesse did it as like a reveal, like a surprise to them. So how was she going to know? So when the other girls get there, she tells them what he's been saying and like how he's talking about he wants to end their marriage and all that stuff. Demi's like, oh, he's an ass. Like, just because you were there and you didn't do anything wrong, and how dare he say that to you, and you carried his kids, you did all these things. And so Jen just starts crying. So now it's like bedtime, and we find out like the next morning that Jen ended up getting in an Uber at 2 a.m. to go where Zach was at. The girls are just like, oh my gosh, like, is she okay? So Demi kept texting her but Jen wasn't responding. So now everyone's getting worried. Macy is like, I watch, crime shows. Things can happen. Like, I don't think he would do that, but you never know. I said, girl, you never know. And with the way femicide is going on right about now, you look, get away from him. So, Demi ends up telling them that like she was on the phone all night. All she heard was like that. like her click clacking, like texting him back to back to back to back. And she said that she read a few of his text messages, and Zach was saying, calling everybody everything but a child of God. Now, mind you, he's out here gambling. His allowance that was given to him by Jen, even though in their faith, I mean, even in, the Christian faith, gambling is wrong. Jesus flipped the table. But it's like, you're calling her all these things, but you are proudly flaunting the fact that you're going to be at them tables all night long. And then we later on find out from Dakota that he was at them tables till 1:30 in the morning. But she left the house at 2 a.m. And so Demi ends up explaining that he was talking trash about everyone's wedding. He said, I like you, not wedding, but everyone's marriage. Basically saying that, like, I wouldn't want none of my marriage to mimic any of the women that you're friends with. He was like, Macy walks all over her husband. And Macy was like, that's called respect. He respects me. Then you got Jesse. He said Jesse cheated on her first husband. And she was like, when and where? And then you like Demi married to a 50-year-old. Like, I don't want none of them type of relationships. So you can miss me with saying that you were with married women, because that's what Jen was saying. She was like, I was out with friends. I was out with married women. Like, why are you behaving this way? And he's like, none of their marriages are anything I want to idolize or have in my future. I said, dang, Zach. We then see Taylor call Dakota to see how Zach was doing, like, because they were like, Jen is not picking up. They're all worried. And that's when Dakota drops the tea that Zach didn't leave the gambling table till 1:30 in the morning. And then Taylor and Dakota get into an argument because she didn't tell him the night before that they were rubbing oil on the Chippendales dancers, but she didn't do it. So he was like, why didn't you tell me that the other night? And so she hung up on him because she was like, I'm not about to argue with you. I'm tired. I don't want to argue with you. I'm pregnant. Like, leave me alone. So she ends up being like, I'm over this. You know what I mean? We then see Whitney and her husband back in Utah. And this is the part where I'm like, y'all were lying. Because everybody online was like, Whitney was condoning the abuse that Jen was receiving from Zach. And I was like, no, she wasn't. She just agreed that she didn't believe that Jen had good morals because she thinks Jen is a bad friend to her. Y'all were acting like she said he should beat her. And was not the case. So we find out that Connor contacted Jordan, who is Jesse's husband, and they had a conversation where Jesse was spilling the tea about what happened between Zach and Jen and the Chippendales and all of that stuff. And he what's it called? Connor ends up telling Whitney he even threatened divorce, and Whitney was like, honestly, I don't care. That's not my marriage. That ain't got nothing to do with me. But she was also like, he also said that she has no morals, no nothing. And that's when Whitney was like, oh, well, I agree with him with that. Y'all was like, that didn't make no sense. Y'all were like, she said he should abuse her. Y'all be lying when y'all don't like people. Y'all be lying. So, they're sitting down at the table while he's telling her this information. And then Whitney ends up being like, I don't even know if I want to be friends with them. It's always something. It's always this chaos. They don't really like me. I don't really like them. And I said, yeah, girl, so maybe you don't need to be a part, So we get back to Vegas, and all the girls are still worried because they're trying to contact Jen, but she's not saying anything. Well, after Taylor gets off the phone with with Dakota and goes upstairs, Macy is like, should I tell her about the thing? She was like, I need to tell her, but I'm just worried because it's a lot. This whole situation is a lot. Jessie is starting to feel bad about the whole Chippendales thing because she knows she got Jen in trouble. And mind you, it's not her fault, but it somewhat is her fault in my opinion, because I'm just like, if you know your friend is in a toxic situation, like, and you know he ain't gonna be happy about this, and you know your friend's not going to leave. That's the other part. If Jen had a backbone when it came to her husband and she wasn't gonna take what he said to her and she was going to leave, that's one thing. But you can clearly tell that she still wants to be with that man. So like, you should have just gave your friend like a little heads up, just a little. So Jessie kind of feels bad, but she also feels some type of way that Zach said that she cheated on her first husband, which she was like, that never happened. So we see them get into the pool. Layla makes a comment about like, she don't know if she wants Jen to come to dinner because she might be on some like other type of time and bring down the mood. And then they finally like, Demi finally gets a text back from Jen where she says like everything's cool, everything's fine. Me and Zach talked it out, and everyone's like, "That's BS. That's total BS." We then see the ladies sit down in the kitchen, and they're sitting at the table, and they're all talking about Whitney again, where they're just kind of like, things have been going great. You know, the men are really the drama. And someone said, "Are they?" When last time we had drama, and they all say it was Whitney's fault. So Demi ends up being like, I don't think Whitney knows how to be a good friend. And until she shows and proves that she can be a good friend, I'm just going to take 20 steps back. And like, because Jess is a follower, Jess is like, same. I'm like, do you even have beef with Whitney, or are you mad that Whitney didn't invite you into her inner circle? Because we haven't really even seen Whitney and Jess have any interactions. So for her to be like, I'm taking steps back from her, doesn't make sense to me when like we've seen her be cool with, like, I got where Demi was coming from, but not Jess or Jessie. So then Macy ends up saying again how she was like, she tells the table, she was like, she's never seen Whitney be this emotional and this impulsive. So she feels like something's going on. So it's nighttime. The girls are starting to get ready. Everyone's wondering if, no, it's not nighttime yet. We end up seeing Dakota. That's what happened. Dakota. He comes to the house because he wants to apologize to Taylor. So he goes upstairs. He gets in bed with her, but she was like half asleep, and he talks to her. Immediately, she starts crying because she's pregnant. She's tired. She's overwhelmed, and she's tired of fighting with him about the same things over and over and over. He feels like in the beginning, she was so loving and caring to him, and she's like, yeah, until I found out you lied to me. But I guess Dakota doesn't feel like it's that big of a deal because they weren't together. They were just dating. And I think that's where it comes, like, you need to talk to the person that you're in this relationship with. Because to me, until you tell me we're exclusive, I don't really care who you messing with, because I'm talking to other people too. Until you're like, hey, or until I'm like, hey, I think we should be exclusive, or you say, hey, I want to be exclusive with you, then that's when you're like, we boyfriend and girlfriend, or we're exclusively dating, and then we become boyfriend and girlfriend, and we push everybody else out. But if we were just dating and it's the early stages of dating, then I really don't care who you mess around with. But if I ask you if you're talking to other people, just be honest and tell me that, because I'm probably doing it too. So, she starts crying. You got Macy, Michaela, and Demi. But first, before Demi came up, it was Macy and Michaela. And they're just like, they're listening, like got their ear to the door. And they're just like, at least he apologizing. But they was like, girl, like, Macy really feels like with this situation with her and him, like, she really needs to tell Taylor about this, like, anonymous confession that she got on her confession Sundays. So it's nighttime now. Yeah, it's nighttime now. And they all decide to get dressed up because they're gonna go bar hopping. So everyone's like, is Jen gonna come? And they're like, we don't really know if she's gonna come. So they go to the restaurant. All their outfits were really cute. They sit down, and Taylor ends up being like, I'm worried about Jen. Like, I hope she's okay. And she was like, I told Dakota, I don't want to be Jen or Zach. I don't want our relationship to be like that. And she was like, and I'm thinking about how much we fight, and if we were married, I feel like it would make it worse. You have Jesse being like, he is most definitely like my ex-husband, and that's a red flag to me. So then out of the blue, Jen actually calls the girls and be like, hey, where y'all are at? I'm gonna come meet up with y'all. And they're like, oh, we're eating right now, but we're about to go to such and such bar. And then she was like, hey, are you okay? She's like, no, we're fine. Me and Zach talked. It needed to happen. Everyone at the table is like, they're like, she's lying. And they're kind of worried because they're just like, dude, he got like the thing to her head telling her, you better say everything's fine. You better say everything's okay. You better say that. So she's just kind of like, everyone's at the table is just like, something ain't right. They all feel like Zach dims Jen's light, because they're like, when she's not around Zach, she's fun, she's fierce, she's everything you would want her to be as a mom and a friend. But when she's with Zach, she is very like reserved and like into herself. So they end up they end up going out. We end up seeing the groups kind of break off, where we see Macy, Taylor, and Michaela, sit down. And Macy actually reveals what she got from the anonymous post on Sunday. And Taylor is taken aback because she was like, see, this is what I thought was going to happen. But I'm just like, you don't know if that, I'm not saying you don't know if it's true, because I definitely think he slept with that other girl, but I'm just like, are you just gonna take it? But maybe you just needed to like confirm your suspicions so you can feel the way you want to feel. But Macy is just like, yeah, I feel like you should know because I wanted you to know. But I also feel like Macy was in the wrong for not telling Taylor the day she got it, or that day when everyone came to the house. Like, she should, like, if you were going to tell her, instead of telling everybody around her, you should have just told her, like, straight, like, girl, I got tea. And it's not good tea, but I think you need to know this tea. So what ends up happening is Taylor's just like, I don't know what to do. But if this is actually in fact true, I'm like, I'm done with him. She say that, but they still together. They still together. So we see the rest of the girls pull up and they sit down, and then we see Jen come. And like I said early on, what Jesse and Demi were saying was true. It was so true. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's an asshole. He's controlling. He demeans you. You don't deserve this. But you could tell that, like, Jen was not, like, she had too much on her, because she's sitting there. She got that 30-yard stare. She's telling everyone that, like, she's never been loved like this before. And like Demi pointed out, girl, you're only 20 years old. And she was like, that's the problem in the church. Everyone's getting married before their frontal lobe develops. And it's like, that is true. That is very much true. Because I remember a lot of people got married when I was in high school. And by the time we all hit like 21 or like not like 20, everybody was divorced. So yeah. So what Demi said was actually true. But I just think it was too much. She already was getting yelled at by Zach. And we know they were probably up until like maybe 6 or 7 in the morning. He was probably being very nasty and mean and malicious to her. And then you see her sit down with her friends. And you could tell that, like, she knows what they're saying is right. But I think she's also scared. She'll be 24, divorced with 2 kids. And that's a lot of responsibility to have, especially if you don't have the proper, like, system around you, the proper support team for you. And maybe that's what she needs to work on. Like, work on creating the right, because she has the money. And so she has the money. So in my mind, I'm like, work on creating that support system for you. And then once you have that, leave, girl. I mean, Jen is pretty. She's cute, petite. She can find herself another man if that is what she wants. All of them can find other men if that's what they want. Like, nobody on this cast is ugly. So I'm just kind of like, you don't gotta be with them. But I think it's also dealing with like the stigma of like what it means in their community. But I'm like, the good thing is she's around a group of women that have gotten divorced. Demi has been divorced. Jess has been divorced. And Jess really don't like Zach. She basically says she don't never want to be around Zach, especially after seeing the text messages of what he said about them. Like, we have done nothing wrong to him. And for him to like say what he said, that's not somebody I want to be around. So next thing you know, Jen just starts crying. And everyone's like, Jen, I'm so, like, they're like, Jen. And I'm like, what did y'all think was going to happen? She's sitting there. She just got cussed out by her husband. Now her friends are cussing her out and hitting her with like harsh truths and reality that the man that she is in love with does not treat her right. He does not truly care about her, because it takes a lot of balls for you to be mad at the person that is like that it's taking care of you. And then to find out that he gambled away the family, like his parents gave them a large sum of money to live off of, mainly for him to live off of, or like to pay for college, for medical school, and he gambled it away. How dare you have an attitude with me or think you run anything in my life, sir? When you put us in financial straits and have me working my body to the bone. So, I mean, honestly, they do say once that frontal lobe gets developed, that's normally when the girls are that young, they hit 25, they be gone. So she is 24, maybe, hopefully, like, I don't know if here's my mindset. If she stays with him, I hope Zach watches his back and realize how much of an asshole and how much of a dick he was being towards her, and really tries to change his behavior. But if he doesn't, I do hope that Jen sets herself up where she can leave him and not feel no type of way. Same for Taylor, because Taylor doesn't really need Dakota. I think she wants to be with Dakota because he came right after all that situation with the swinger thing, the everything, and she's holding on to him, and she doesn't want to be a single divorced mom. But it's just like, girl, peace is better than being with somebody. Like one of the girls said, it's better for you to be by yourself and happy than be with somebody and be miserable. And they asked Taylor, like, are you miserable? And she said, yeah. But she was like, a lot of that is because of my own doing. But I was like, yeah, girl, and it's also because of that man. It's because of that man. So the episode ended with Jen crying. So yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic and definitely hop down in them comments below and share your thoughts with me. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.